Hello.
Hello, Tim in Australia.
Yes, we are. Spring has sprung here in Australia, and it's just such a beautiful day that I decided to relocate ever so slightly from there to here. So I'm outside my office right now in my expansive office.
Yes, this is, and we're in Los Angeles today. It really feels like fall, except it's middle of summer, and it's I have no idea where this weather came from. It's very bizarre, but
Yeah.
it's fantastic. But we're here to talk about neuroscience and uncertainty. I'm going to talk about the mind, and Tim's going to talk about the body. Tim, were you going to start, or did you want me to start?
Oh, mate. Yeah, you have at it. Sorry, I've got these very large Australian magpies that have decided right as we started this that they're going to sit right above me and make lots of noise.
I love
So
it though. It feels very natural. Maybe by the time they listen to me for a while, they're probably trying to join in the conversation.
they're totally down with the energy that we're creating, and they want to know more. So no, I'll just endorse what Tom said. We're really looking today at how uncertainty impacts the mind and body. Tom, because he knows a lot about the mind, is going to do that bit, and then I'll do the body bit and speak more to personal experience as well as a little bit of empiricism that I've engaged with myself. So over to you. How does uncertainty impact on the mind?
Yes. So, uncertainty and the mind and neuroscience. It's interesting because uncertainty is a big disruptor, and it really affects our safety and our security. We can go into fight or flight or frozen, the other states. We can also it can affect um, our ability to see and feel fairness. It can, but really, it really attacks our security and safety, and in a lot of different ways. It's in what's going to happen, what's going to um, our mind's telling us that something isn't right, danger is coming. Whether it's something good or something bad, it's and actually our if you think about it, and it's true. I've actually reframed and gotten out of a an impacted by I was claustrophobic, and that fear sense it was very heightened, and so I was started feeling claustrophobic when I was flying. The way that I reframe that is it's the exact same sensations in the brain, the activity, and in the body to that I is excitement. So when I was going over a roller coaster, I realized that, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel when I'm starting to feel claustrophobic in the plane. And I like this. And so as I started careening down and I started feeling the same sensation of fear and anxiety and panic, but I was liking it, I associated that with my flying of the plane, right? And in that, I was feeling danger and insecure, and I was going to be trapped. What I did was, next time I flew, I thought of it as a good thing and aligned it with my feeling on the roller coaster that was good and not bad, and thought of it as a sensation of excitement rather than of fear. And so that's how it can truly affect you and affect your security and your safety. And what happens in that is when you get into a social situation, it will uh, it will cause you to stop talking to people, go inside, or be upset, or start acting out, or holding in everything that you don't want to do if you want a viable and good relationship, whether it's at home or at work. That's all I got for the moment, Tim.
Okay, well, there's a couple of things that were sort of going off. in my tiny little mind as you were talking then. A conversation I had with, I'm going to say our colleague and friend, Karen Jensen, that she and I had. And there was a particular segment in this conversation, which is a conversation which will be broadcast for the entire universe soon because it's going on Better World Leaders. But there was something that she said in there about, from a sort of an evolutionary neurology and psychology perspective, the mind is constantly seeking to predict our environment, right? It's like we've got all these finely tuned sensory organs and receiving mechanisms inside the body, which imprint on a number of levels, mind, like different parts of the spinal column connection, and then into the gut and so forth as well. And all of those systems are really designed to intuit what's going on around us and seek patterns, and then try to predict what those patterns are likely to lead to an outcome of. Right? Does this landscape mean I'm likely to find food? Does this landscape mean that the weather's changing and I need to prepare for a different environment? Does this landscape imply that there might be a threat coming around the corner? So that was the one thing. And Karen spent years and years and years working on researching the neuroscience of safety and prediction, essentially. And the other thing was, when you were sharing your analogy there about the plane, I was taken back to my childhood, and like one of the real causes of uncertainty for some children, not all, is darkness. Right? Like when those lights go off, all of a sudden the environment's less predictable. And even though we're supposed to be going to sleep, there's enough uncertainty in that environment that we get these sort of arousing fear triggers, and that actually prevents us from going to sleep. Well, I endured this sensation for quite a long time. And I was scared of the dark for quite a long time. And I got to the point of basically kind of confronting this challenge head on and taking myself out to walk in the woods at night. And doing that by basically seeking out patterns that I knew were familiar. So I would walk the same paths that I knew very well, like the back of my hand, growing up in the countryside, but I would walk them in the dark. And when I was out there, I would be hearing sounds, and I knew exactly what that rustle in the bushes was, right? But what's incredible is what the mind creates when those signals are less certain, right? So the fear and the overwhelm and the absolute like fight or flight or freeze, all of those I can very much speak to. But what happened was, overexposure, you repattern and you actually shift what those signals mean and the interpretation of them, so that the physical response is different. And over a period of time, I got to the point where I actually preferred walking at night to walking during the daytime, because you tune in that much more. So I wonder, I don't know, I wonder whether there might be something in that sort of exposure and repatterning process as a way to sort of establish new norms and new routines in uncertain environments. What do you think? You're on mute. I need my you're on mute card. You're on mute.
Oh, I did it this time. Actually, I was building into where we just built this new program called Work Forward, and it's an amalgamation of programs that we've done, but it's meant for people going back into a work environment and a physical environment, and it's built on shared values and nurturing trust and navigating uncertainty and thriving well-being. Well, in the navigating uncertainty, what I was when I was talking about being compassionate, being forgiving, having empathy, those are all areas that help to build a safe and trusting environment. So when people are going into uncertainty, they know what safety and security they can grab onto. And it's not physical. It is how people are treating you, how much compassion you're getting, and that whatever's going on, you're okay. And that's super important in uncertain environments, because you, to be able to be productive and to be able to concentrate, you need to be able to alleviate some of that uncertainty so that you can work, you can live life. And the best ways we can do that are one, by trying to calm ourselves, but also being around people and in an environment that supports you in whatever you're doing. Do you agree? Of course you do. You helped me build this program.
I was gonna say, you're preaching to the choir, mate. But no, I think this is the crux of the irony of shared experience and whether or not that creates shared meaning. So I was having this conversation with a coaching client. Oh, now we've got some feedback. Whatever you just did, don't do that. Now I can hear myself on your feed. Okay. So yeah, like there's obviously a uniqueness to everybody's individual experience, but there's also lots of similarities with the version of everybody else's experience. So there's actually a lot of shared experience in whatever context you're going through, especially if that's a localized context, like you and your team, you and your office, you and your company, right? There's a lot of shared experience there. But if there's not enough sharing of that shared experience through like that little kind of casual dialogue, or the sort of program designed interactions that induce social cohesion, then there isn't a lot of construction of shared meaning. And that is really where sort of you begin to nurture trust. That's and compassion is a bridge to get to that shared meaning. And just to start to move to how all this stuff manifests bodily, like we all know the rising sensations of anxiety when they're triggered in specific moments. But what about the lethargy that comes from prolonged uncertainty? And we spoke last time, and we shared some references to a couple of different sources, but a podcast in particular by Brene Brown talking about this sort of energy deficit of living in prolonged uncertainty and the need to kind of offset that with a different adoption of rest, right? Rest in different practices. So I think that's absolutely a part of it. But there's another thing as well, which is when you're feeling less certain, maybe you start to feel less empathetic, because those parts of your brain that are required to engage with empathy, some of that circuitry starts to get closed down when you're in a more anxious state. And then if you're less empathetic, you may be more likely to be frustrated by what's going on around you and have an anger-based response. And you may then be less likely to interact with a situation through a modality of kindness. And that has a kind of ironic effect.
Think about how you are with your family, with your kids, right? You're frustrated, you're gonna spout off so much quicker, right? Than if you're in a calm mode. And so it's that same dynamic. It's the exact same thing that happens when you're doing that at work and you're frustrated and somebody comes up to you, and it could be very innocent, they just don't know, but you snap.
I was just going to say the reason I say this is ironic is because in order to show up as our best selves and do our most productive work and sort of connect most deeply with the fulcrum of the organization to amplify what we're doing, we need to be well, right? As Dr. Tom and I keep saying, you need to be well to lead well, right? Well, this is why this sort of prolonged uncertainty is ironic. It invokes more anger-based responses than kindness-based responses. We were with another one of our colleagues, Mel, yesterday, working through some of the HeartMath course that she rolls out. And the HeartMath course, one of the studies that's cited is this study of basically a salival swab that's taken after an anger-based response and after a kindness-based response to an environmental stimuli. And what this salival swab is looking for is this particular enzyme that's a marker for a reinforcement of the immune system, right? And basically, there's this enzyme that's secreted that becomes sampleable in your saliva that can have a beneficial effect on your immune system. And what happens is when you respond to something with kindness, that marker goes up significantly and it's sustained over time above the baseline. So essentially, kindness has a positive neurochemical impact on your immune system. Guess what anger does? Anger depletes it significantly, and then there's a prolonged deficiency below the baseline level for a similar period of time. And this is just one study which is cited by, I looked at this and I was really thinking about today and the mind-body connection. And I thought, well, this, isn't it interesting that we've got this complete crisis of burnout right now at a time when most people are living through the most extended period of uncertainty that they've ever endured, unless you've been exposed to a war zone or a famine or something like that extends out over long periods of time, right? There's a lot that is uncertain. There's low rates of predictability right now. And then we see people getting sick and staying sick, their energy being depleted. And I think there's a lot to this sort of managing of yourself, kind of calming yourself, taking the BMW to Vegas, as Dr. Tom likes to talk about, working with the body to sort of help support the mind, and then acting more of these positive feedback loops of, because I'm calmer, because I can sort of engage more with my whole brain and my neofrontal cortex and be more empathetic, I'm more likely to respond kindly to a stimulus, and that's good for me. Versus I'm scared, I'm tired, I'm sick, I respond with anger. That makes me more sick, scared, tired. I don't know. What do you think? Unmute yourself.
It's great, but we're at 17 minutes there. So if we're going to extend this, we're going to have to do it another time. But that was really good, Tim. That was really good. I think you hit a lot of really good notes in that. Great examples too. Is there anything else you want to add?
I talk too much. I know.
Well, you were excited about the subject matter, and who cares about time when you're outside, gonna go jump on a trampoline, sing with the magpies.
I give it a couple of months and I'll be broadcasting from the swimming pool, right?
Fantastic.
You do not want to see that. All right, so that is a longer Tim Tom talk than normal. Yes, Dr. Tom, you're right. So we will keep this ball rolling. If you're enjoying these, there's more on the YouTube channel. We're uploading them onto the website as well. And keep showing up. Keep sending us questions. We had some great comments last time as well. So if you're watching this, there's something you're interested in, ping us a little comment. We'll try and answer it there. But for now, be well, lead well, Dr. Tom.
Yes, have a good day in Australia, and I'm going to have a good evening in Los Angeles, California.
We shall do that, both.